Blog Talk Radio. Hello, thank you for joining us for another episode of 219 GreenConnect. I'm your host, Kathy Sipple, and on the show we explore topics about green living and other fresh ideas in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or join us on Facebook or Twitter. Our ID on both Facebook and Twitter is 219GreenConnect. You can also subscribe to this podcast via iTunes. Today's possible is made possible by My Social Media Coach, providers of social media coaching and training for small businesses and nonprofit organizations. Learn more at www.mysocialmediacoach.com. With me today, I have Eric Zoso, and Eric is the founder of Zosco Co-working, Valparaiso, Indiana's first co-working space, as far as I know. Welcome, Eric. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
And a lot of people, I think, might not have heard of the term co-working. So can you just give us a little definition of co-working?
Absolutely. So co-working is, it's a style of working where folks can come together from different backgrounds and different organizations in more of a collaborative way to do everyday work.
Great. So just to paint a little picture, I had the opportunity to visit your space, and it's really great. But let's just tell people a little bit about what they'd find in your co-working space.
Sure. So with our co-working space in Valpo, we have, first thing you'll find is a good group of folks. Usually, most days, you'll have different backgrounds, be it web developers or freelancers or graphic designers, or even we have two awesome health coaches that are also part of the space. And
I think I might know who they are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the way it works is we have an open office layout instead of the typical cube farm that you may find in a corporate office or more of the standard insurance-style office where everyone has a separate office and desk. We have multiple desks all in one space where and I'm sure we'll go over the benefits of it, but it's a great place to interact while also being able to get work done. And so that's the first part you walk in. We also have a small meeting room where you can meet with a client. And co-working in general is just kind of that shared environment. So not only do you save resources for the environment and you lower your own footprint, but you're also around people. And so that's usually the first thing that you see when you come into a space.
Right. Well, I was just so excited to hear that you were starting this up in Valparaiso because I live and work in Valparaiso. I am a solopreneur, single-person business with a part-time assistant here and there. I have had an office in the past, but, the overhead was just a little much for, just me. And I meet with many of my clients online. So, again, not even having clients come to an office a lot of the time, it's hard to substantiate the overhead, frankly. But that being said, the other alternatives when you want to work somewhere not in your home is to usually go to a coffee shop. Now, I love our local coffee shops. I've got nothing against them, but it's not necessarily all that conducive to getting work done. You hear conversations, you see people that you know, and they might be there for social reasons, not business. So it's just kind of hard to draw the line, whereas your place, you do have coffee. That's kind of an important feature that we probably want to
mention. Definitely.
But you also have some policies in place that kind of help create an atmosphere that's conducive to getting work done.
Absolutely. So we always have nice background music playing, but the easiest way to think of it is if someone has their headset on or earplugs in, you leave them alone. If someone has one earbud in and one open, that means they're open to possibly talk briefly, but keep it short. And if, they're just chomping away on their computer or working and they look up and they're looking at you and they're not wearing a headset, then it's usually a good time to say hey or kind of just chat about different activities that you all are doing.
Mm-hmm. Great. So you just opened when? It's been a couple months now, right?
Yeah, actually, it's only been a few months, and haven't really told anyone about it. Just trying to make sure we're
it's
getting
time to tell people.
Yeah. Yeah. So we opened up in September. Actually, is when we started accepting members, and we actually had a lot of members come all within a very quick time span.
Great.
So
Great. And for those whose interest has been piqued, let's go ahead and tell them a website where they can find out more information.
Absolutely. So if you want to know about co-working in general, there's a really cool website called deskmag.com, which kind of talks more, well, they're far better at explaining it than I could ever be, but deskmag.com is a really cool source for knowing about co-working spaces, tools you can use, tips you can use, ways to make your time better. But then for us, we're at zosco.com. So if you just Google co-working and then Valparaiso, you'll find us. So zosco.com.
So that's Z-O. Let's go ahead and spell that for people, just in case.
So if Google fails, then it will be Z-O-S-E-C-O.
Thank you. I had a feeling if I tried, I might mix it up a little bit. But, well, that's great. And also on the show notes, I've got a hyperlink that goes to your website. So if you happen to be watching this online, just click on or listening online, just go ahead and click on the show notes, and we'll take you right there, too. And the general co-working site that you mentioned, is that DeskMag, D-E-S-K-M-A-G?
It is, yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and include that as well. So I got to say, I've been doing some unofficial co-working, not in a dedicated space, but had embraced the idea several years ago, just finding it a little bit lonely and sometimes hard to stay focused, just working on your own every single day. People who have worked in an office do kind of sometimes miss that element of it. And, so I've been working with a couple different people locally, either at one another's homes or one another's offices. And April from Harvest Circle Workshop has recently begun to make her commercial space available just one day of the week for a limited number of people. But no place in Valparaiso that I knew of was dedicated to this. So you're the first, and we really welcome you and thank you for meeting this vital need here in the community. I think that once people find out about it, you're going to get the rest of your spaces filled. So
thanks.
Let's talk about the kinds of memberships that you provide. You've got some really pretty affordable entry-level packages, and then you've got more benefit-rich packages available for people that want to reserve their own space. Can you tell listeners just a little bit about your offerings?
Absolutely. So, like anything, we want to make sure that we're providing value. And when you mentioned that you had an office in the past where it's a lot of overhead, it definitely rings true, where signing a year or 3-year lease is kind of scary. So what we do is we try to make things a little bit easier, and we offer month-to-month leases. And actually, they're not even leases, they're just memberships. So it's a membership plan. If you want to be a member, awesome. If you just want to visit, which is our first plan, which is actually free, just hit us up online, shoot us a message, and we'll set up a good time where you can see what it's like, see how working there is, and see if it's something that you could see yourself coming day in and day out. And with that, we also have more of a limited membership where folks for just $75 can come about once a week, meet with clients, print stuff up from our printer, grab some coffee, just hop in, get some work done, and they'll always be able to be part of the community there. And that's our more limited membership, but it provides that need for businesses that maybe they're only in downtown Valparaiso once a week or just a few times a month. And so we want to definitely provide that. Alternatively, if you're the type of person that wants a space at any time of the day, 24/7, we have reservable desks. And the coolest part of that is we have keyed entry where you can come in, unlock the space, even if no one's around. You have your own desk set up, and you can either bring your computer, bring your equipment, lock stuff up in storage that we have on site. Just kind of come in and make the space your own. And so that's, at the $200 range, but it's kind of just a good mix where we want folks to come in, we want to be able to interact, but we also want to make sure that we're providing the absolute best value possible. So that's why we host different events, different entrepreneur meetups or freelancer discussions where folks can kind of talk about things that have been ailing them or challenges they've been facing and ways they're going to overcome it. So
great.
Definitely the community approach.
Yeah, and I have to say, too, the space itself is just very bright and airy. You know, it's on the third floor at it's a downtown Valparaiso location. You want to go ahead and give the address?
Absolutely. It's 5 Washington Street. That is Suite 300.
Okay, so you take an elevator up, and it's just a neat old building, very large windows overlooking Lincoln Way, which is the main drag in Valparaiso, really close to the square where the farmers market is held in the summertime. And, you know, the furnishings are very contemporary. You just kind of feel like you're in a pretty hip urban office, you know. I know you've really been thoughtful about the configuration of the furniture, working with it, just trying to get it right for your users. And, you know, it looks great. I'm sure it's just getting better and better all the time. Let's see, what else did I want to say? You mentioned the lockers, which I think is a great idea. And also, this is probably a no-brainer, but you do get free internet with your membership as well. So with the membership, it's coffee. The lockers are a little bit extra, I believe. Is that right? Is that only for?
No, actually, that's part of the membership for two of our residents that have their own desk. They also have a locker, and then members that are coming, well, any day of the week, but they don't have their own desk. Those are actually part of the membership. Yeah. Wow,
that's really generous. So the typical office hours when the lighter membership level can drop by, those would be kind of standard operating hours, Monday through Friday?
They are, but we realize that if you have a 7 o'clock meeting and, you know, if we said, hey, you can only be here at 8 o'clock or later, that's not really beneficial to you. So we're very open to, well, helping our members out. And so it's general hours, but we can definitely adjust to make it easier.
Well, you're certainly giving it your all. And can you tell us just a little bit about your background? I thought your background was interesting, that you weren't exactly an entrepreneur, but you're really dedicated to serving entrepreneurs, or you come from a family that has a business. But just tell us a little bit about what got you interested in doing this at this time in Valparaiso.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Valpo and graduated from high school, but then I left for 10 years. I went to college, and I went off into the space realm. So I'm a huge fan of space, and not just co-working spaces and office space, but actually outer space. So I worked with the Air Force for 5 years doing GPS satellites. And the coolest part of my job was actually working with folks that were way sharper than I could ever be, but just dedicated, intelligent, and open to discussion. And so the 5 years I spent with the Air Force working with GPS satellites was just a fascinating experience. Lots of sharp people, lots of incredible discussions that I absolutely loved. Part of, my goal in life has been able to pay it forward. And with that, I wanted to move back home to be around family, but also to help out my hometown. When I moved back to Valpo just earlier this year, I saw, as you said, the downtown area has grown tremendously. The amount of activities that's going on with the farmers market or the downtown square has just been wonderful. And so getting back into Valpo and then seeing the strides that the town has taken has been huge. And seeing Northwest Indiana in general, it's definitely grown, and I think it's been growing in the right direction. So I was originally looking at finding employment, on the West Coast space environment, but the outer space stuff. But no, I've actually put that all on hiatus so I can try to better serve the community and try to lay roots here. So it's kind of how I got into Valpo. And yeah, this is actually So I only have this organization. I have another business that I'm in the planning phases, but yeah, with this co-working space, it's actually it's a nonprofit, believe it or not, where all the proceeds go back into the space. So this is more of a work of passion than anything else.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing your story. That's really interesting. I know that there are some co-working spaces in Chicago, and I think actually a couple of your members had been, may still be members there too, but Chicago is about an hour drive. So to have that kind of convenience right here in your own town certainly beats driving that far. Did you happen to check out any other co-working spaces before you launched your own?
Actually, I've looked at a lot online and never really felt the need to just a member. I was always working, but yeah, I spent a lot of time researching, trying to figure out what makes a co-working space beneficial for its members. And for instance, in Lafayette, there's Matchbox Studios, which when I got the opportunity to check that out, it was just a really cool layout. That one had a lot of funding sources from the city. I didn't have as much capital at my hands, but we took some cues from there, and also some of the spaces in the Chicago plus Denver, Colorado Springs areas. So it's more of the layout and the design is that in its own right. It's kind of been a collaborative process, which is a lot like the organization and what we try to offer. So.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's awesome.
Well, I just think, there's so many elements of collaborative living, collaborative economy that I'm seeing pop up, and it just seems like this idea is just ripe for many people's situations. I think people that have found themselves without traditional employment, working from home, they do yearn for something that's a little bit of a hybrid, and I think you're filling that need. Another thing I think is very interesting that I hope to see more of in our region in the future is something called co-housing, which is not like a commune in the 60s, but it's like condominium-style ownership, but where you share common spaces and you're looking for more of a, shared meals and that kind of thing. So I just think the whole spectrum of that kind of stuff is on its way, and, you're really at the forefront. There's another group in town that is still in the planning stages. They're called HubWorks, and I think you met with Elias, or is that correct? Elias Krim is one of the founders of HubWorks, and they are looking at taking over the old Valpo Tech building at 1150 West Lincoln Way. I think they may offer an element of co-working, but it also has some elements of, I think, what we'd call makerspace. So it's going to, I think, be geared toward more hands-on type projects where people might want to use a club-owned or, organization-owned 3D printer, let's say, or other tools. And there's very developmental. Yeah, exactly. The very developmental stages of that, but that seems to be coming along, and it seems that they've got some partnerships in place. So I just see, a full spectrum of these types of collaborative live workspaces coming up. And again, thanks for bringing Valparaiso into this trend. And I hope you will be wildly successful at it.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and give your... Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, for folks that were interested in learning more about makerspaces, you can always Google makerspaces, but there's also one in a smaller suburb of Chicago, but on the Illinois side, and it's called Space Lab 1, which might give some examples of like different classes and different events that a makerspace can have, which is a really cool community building aspect, just kind of as you were talking about with shared economy, but just not just shared resources where, if you wanted a 3D printer, that could be expensive, but if you pool together, you can get it. But more the shared experience and the shared knowledge. So that's a very exciting piece, and I'm definitely looking forward to helping out with HubWorks wherever I can.
Yeah, I hope to get Elias on the show here soon, too, when they've got their plan ready to be released. So I hope I haven't jumped the gun on that. But exciting,
we'll
exciting stuff. Yeah. And anything else you'd like to share?
Well, the one thing that I would like to share is, at least within the Valparaiso community, there's a good push to come together as a community and be more interdependent on one another and help one another out. And the town has recently done what's called Valpo Next, which is setting up the framework for where the city wants to be, but it's been based all on community involvement. I think not just for the Valpo side, but the rest of Porter County and the rest of Lake County and the surrounding region. I think it's a great framework where it's a good place to start thinking of ways where we want to take our communities. I really think like getting involved with that has helped me tremendously, and I know, well, helped me tremendously in terms of learning more about other people in the community and just learning of ways where I can help out, where other folks can help out too. So, yeah, I just want to make a little plug for them because it's been an awesome experience.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been to some of the community input meetings and have found that to be really beneficial as well. They used kind of a multi-voting strategy, broke out into small groups, and then reconvened in the larger groups to find out what the small groups came up with. And I was the one talking about co-working and co-housing quite a lot. But I was glad that some of my input did make its way to the final document, and that was pretty exciting. So,
awesome.
Yeah, and in the same vein of offering resources out there for people who are listening that are not in Valparaiso. Valparaiso is part of 219 area code, Northwest Indiana region, but obviously it extends much further beyond Valparaiso. There is also the Purdue Tech Center over in Crown Point. They're at 9800 Connecticut Drive in Crown Point. And they did have some elements of co-working. I'm not sure if that is still in effect or not. And then there's the Hammond Innovation Center up in Hammond, and they've got a new project that they've launched, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. Should have looked it up before starting. But they've got kind of a makerspace, co-working space that they're starting up as well that's affiliated with the Hammond Innovation Center. And for budding, entrepreneurs or people exploring beginning their own business, the ISBDC is a great resource, the Indiana Small Business Development Center. There is a chapter right here within Northwest Indiana, and they have a number of talented business consultants that are available to you for absolutely free. So some great resources, some great support that are there and building, helping to build this new economy. So I want to thank you, Eric, for sharing your time and your story. Can we go ahead and give the listeners your website one more time?
Absolutely. My website is ZOSECO, which is ZOSECO.com. And additionally, one of the things that we also try to help out with, and we're not as great as the ISBDC, but we're working on it. And we have a little collaborative community on Meetup for the Valparaiso Entrepreneurship Meetup, which is kind of collaborative motivation in a sense. Although, Kathy, you also have a collaborative motivation style grouping as well. Is that right?
Well, I'm part of a group that's called the Chicagoland Conscious Evolutionaries, and that might be what you're referring to. I recently received notification that I am to receive the media award for what they call their co-creation awards. And basically it's just honoring people who do, as you say, kind of embrace that collaborative style. And yes, that's how I like to do my marketing consulting. I've been told by one permaculture designer client of mine that I have a permaculture approach to marketing. So I do really like to look for areas of win-win and kind of create new models that are beyond getting paid by the hour and looking for a way to just create win-win opportunities for both parties.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of what it seems like is not just win-win for both parties, but also a win for the community. And that's
community, exactly. The things that you're creating, the solutions that you're creating are definitely, ways that we can enrich the economy. So, I may just have some other projects to announce on my own. You're a good interviewer. I may invite you back to interview me.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I've got some things in the works that I'll be ready to announce after the first of the new year. And I just am really excited about this new energy that's infused in our region. So thanks again, Eric, for coming back and being a part of it. And I really appreciate your time today. So you have been listening to another episode of 219 GreenConnect, where, again, we explore ideas about green living and fresh ideas here in Northwest Indiana. And my name is Kathy Sipple. I'm your host. If you like this and you'd like to hear more fresh ideas, please go to iTunes and check us out. You can just look for the 219 GreenConnect podcast, and you can listen to all 60-plus back episodes. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you.